Hi, I'm Natasha Lee. I'm the author of God's Daughter. When Maternal Love Hurts, God's Love Heals. I wrote this book based on my personal experience for women who are carrying unspoken pain caused by wounds received from their mothers. The person who was supposed to love you unconditionally has caused you pain that has affected every part of who you are and how you live your life. You're worried you failed as a daughter, worried that people won't understand, that God won't understand. In fact, you don't even understand yourself. You know something isn't right, but you can't make it make sense to yourself or to others. If that's you, I want you to know this: you're not alone. You're not crazy. Your story matters. Mothers are meant to be a source of love, acceptance, and support, serving as role models that shape how we see ourselves, others, and God. But what if that's not your story? What if a mother is distant, critical, manipulative, emotionally abusive? It leaves wounds, deep wounds, guilt, shame, the fear that you'll never be good enough, that you don't deserve love from anyone, not even God. That's why I wrote God's Daughter. I understand this pain because I've experienced it. I'm going to share an excerpt from my book when I finally realized that I had to let go in order to move forward. I realized things had to change. I looked at my life, and despite all the things that had happened, I had a good life. I had a great life. I had the things I wanted most of all: a family of my own, my husband, and my child. And God had given me so much more. I had more in my life than I ever thought possible. I had too much to live for, not just exist, but live for. I reflected on the state of my relationship with my mother and realized there had never been a bond between the two of us. There had always been distance. I hadn't imagined that. It was real. I believe when she realized I wasn't like her, she was disappointed, and it turned into resentment. The gap between us widened, leading to her indifference and criticism of me. My relationship with her formed my view of myself and God. How could God be pleased with me if my mother wasn't? It's here, I believe, the seeds of insecurity, low self esteem, depression, and anxiety were planted and enabled to grow in me. As I learned about narcissistic personality disorder, I concluded it had to be the underlying cause of how my mother behaved, and it shaped our dynamic as mother and daughter. I had to shift my focus and energy away from her and onto me. I couldn't help her, but I could help myself. A narcissist is only concerned about themselves. Consequently, you will end up having to choose between them and yourself. I've been choosing her my entire life, and I now understood it was perfectly okay to choose me. I had to take control of my life, and the only approval that I needed to be concerned with was God's. I was responsible for honoring her as my mother, but she also had a responsibility to me as her daughter. Exodus 20:12 does tell children to honor their parents. The same verse is repeated in Ephesians 6:2 and 3. However, Ephesians 6:4 tells parents not to stir up anger in their children by how they treat them. Learning about narcissistic personality disorder changed my life and answered so many questions. I read about women with stories just like mine. Some weren't as bad as mine, and some were considerably worse. The most important thing was that my story was valid. It had a place. This book is my story, but more importantly, it's a story for every woman tired of pretending everything is okay. She's ready to release and mourn what she never had and embrace what's still available. She needs to understand that God isn't upset with her. He loves her and wants her to realize that healing is possible. He's waiting to reveal who he is and what he has planned for her. This is what you need to know. You can tell your story. You can set boundaries and still show respect. You can live your life free from guilt and shame. God loves you and sees you. He's always been there, even when you felt alone and forgotten. Healing is about becoming who you were truly meant to be. Reclaim your life. Discover your purpose. Break the cycle for future generations. Along with my book, there is the God's Daughters Bible Study. It provides spiritual guidance and support for women who are ready to start a journey to understand their pain, build supportive relationships, and walk in freedom. You are God's daughter. You are loved. You are seen. Embrace who God says you are. I'm Natasha Lee, and my book is titled God's Daughter: When Maternal Love Hurts, God's Love Heals. Additionally, there is the God's Daughters Bible Study. Both are available on Amazon.